Welcome to Class 1 Political Science class. Today I will start lesson 7, Liberty, and the topic is liberty, its meaning and features. Objectives of the lesson are liberty, its meaning, negative and positive dimensions of liberty, why liberty needs some constraints, features of liberty, kinds of liberty, safeguards of liberty, law and liberty relationship. Objectives of the day are liberty, its meaning, negative and positive dimensions of liberty, why liberty needs some constraints, features of liberty. Before discussion of these objectives, I would like to discuss the key terms with you. The first key term is liberty, means the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Revolutionary, a person who either participates in or advocates a revolution. Revolutionary has a major sudden impact on society or on some aspect of human behavior. For example, I tell you about Mahatma Gandhi. He was a revolutionary who introduced non-violent method of freedom struggle in India. When he came from South Africa, he changed the freedom struggle method. He introduced this revolutionary method. He led 3 freedom struggles in India, that is non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement and quit India movement. That made him the father of nation, but all were based on the non-violent method. Next is socio-economic inequality. Inequality means the quality of being unequal. Economic inequality is caused by the unequal accumulation of wealth, and social inequality exists because of the lack of wealth. So, both inequalities are interrelated. Now, I will give you an example of the richest man of India. He is Mr. Mukesh Ambani. He is richest economically, and obviously his social status is also according to his economic status. Now, on the other side, you imagine the poor people living in slum area in the same city, Mumbai. They are economically weak and their social status is also according to their economic status, means they have friends and neighbors accordingly. Now there is no match between Mukesh Ambani and slum area people. There is inequality between them. This is the present problem of free India, which affects the free thoughts of the society. Next is underdevelopment. Underdeveloped is having a low standard of living. For example, a country that has many poor people and had bad living conditions. For example, Niger, Central African Republic, South Sudan, Chad, Burundi, Mali, etc. Next is casteism. Casteism refers to one-sided loyalty in favor of particular caste. Belief in religious dogmas is the major cause of this. For example, Brahmins as the superior caste under Hinduism. According to Vedas, the Hinduism has 4 castes, that is Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Brahmins are considered as the highest caste as they are to perform all the religious rituals and Shudras were the lowest caste. They were considered untouchables and rejected by the society. But now, according to Indian Constitution, Article 14 provides the right to equality. Under this article, all are treated equal. Now, in India, all are equal. Even there is an exception under Article 14, and that special laws can be made for the weaker sections of the society. I know who are the weaker sections in India, that they are the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, women and children. So special laws and reservations can be made for them for their upliftment. And this is done in India. Now there is no caste system in India. Is it clear? Next is superstitions, a belief or practice resulting from the ignorance and trust in magic or chance. For example, it is considered a bad omen to see a priest walking on the way or in the street and an owl flying over a house, etc. Even if you see a cat walking on the way, this is considered as ill omen. These all are the superstitions. One side we say we are living in the 21st century, we are very modern, and the other side we believe in all this. Am I right, students? So these are the superstitions. Next is third world countries. After the Second World War, students, the world is now considered living in the three worlds: first world, third world, second world, and the third world countries. So, developing countries characterized by a population with low and middle incomes and other socio-economic indicators. It included the countries of Asia and Africa. For example, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Egypt, South Africa, etc. Students, for your information, I would like to tell you that after Second World War, the first world consisted of US, Western Europe and their allies, and the Second World was of the so-called communist bloc that included South Soviet Union, China, Cuba and its friends, and the remaining nations which aligned with neither group were assigned the third world. For example, India, because India had started the policy of non alignment. And other countries, example, I have already given you the developing countries like India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, Egypt, South Africa, etc. These are the third world countries. Now, students, today I will discuss the topic liberty. In simple language, liberty means freedom, freedom from captivity or control. The word liberty suggests release from restrictions. According to your subject and topic, liberty is the state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's way of life, behavior, or political views. Now, I will discuss the topic and tell how rights and liberties are interconnected. Rights are those essential conditions of social life without which no one can, in general, seek himself to be at his best self. Each man needs several civil, economic, and political rights. Civil rights like right to vote, right to fair trial, right to use public facilities, and economic rights are related with basic human needs, for example, for food, clothes, shelter, like right to work, right to physical and mental health, etc. And political right, I think you know very well because you are living in the largest democratic nation, that is India. We have political right to oppose the government if it fails to protect our interest. We can use media for this, like we have media, print media, that is newspaper, and electronic media, that is various apps we have, so we can use it. But our opposition to the government must be based on the facts, and our language must be correct. It means we should not forget our limits. Is it clear? In fact, in contemporary times, each state grants and guarantees several rights to all its citizens. Of all the rights which are considered fundamental for the development of the personality of the individual, the right to liberty or freedom happens to be the most respected right. In fact, without liberty, that is, without the freedom to enjoy one's rights, there can be no real right available to the people. The Indian Constitution, Part 3, Article 12 to 35, provides fundamental rights to the citizens of India for their intellectual, moral, and spiritual development. One of the right is right to freedom. Liberty as such is the most cherished and loved right of the people. Now I will tell you the meaning of liberty. The word liberty stands derived from the Latin word liber, which means free. In this sense, liberty means freedom from restraints and the freedom to act as one likes. However, in a civil society, such a meaning of liberty is taken to be a negative and harmful. Students, obviously, such a meaning is negative and harmful. You can see it means freedom from restraints and the freedom to act as one likes. So, naturally, it is negative and harmful. It is only a jungle that freedom from restraints is available to animals. In a civil society, no person can be really permitted to act without restraints. Hence, liberty is taken to mean the absence of not all restraints, but only those restraints which are held to be irrational. Liberty involves the existence of rational, tested, and established restraints, that is, restraints which have stood the test of historical experience and reason. Like, I give you an example. If anyone is to enter any other country, he is to enter with his visa on passport. But it doesn't mean that he is restricted by the other government to enter his country. This is necessary for the security of the nation. It is followed by all the nations. It is international law. Students, you also agree with this. I hope you also know everything. Now, reasonable restrictions are regarded not as limitations, rather essential conditions for the enjoyment of liberty by all. Yes, reasonable restrictions can be imposed. They don't limit our liberty. Rather, it's essential for all. Suppose your parents say that you are not allowed to come late in the evening. You must be at home in time. Here, students, You can't argue that it's a finishing your liberty. Rather, parents have the right to put reasonable restrictions, same way the government also has the right. Is it clear? Liberty is usually defined in two ways, that is, negative liberty and positive liberty. Now, first I will talk about the negative liberty. Students, first you see the picture. Here the children are looking very good to you in first look. They are enjoying, but if they keep on enjoying every time like this, it becomes a negative liberty, because we are living in a civilized society. We are to learn some limits also. We are to be civilized. So, what is negative liberty? In its negative sense, liberty is taken to mean an absence of restraints. It means a freedom to act in any way. In this form, liberty becomes a license. Such a meaning of liberty can never be accepted in a civil society. In contemporary times, negative conception of liberty stands rejected. Negative liberty is freedom from interference by other people. Like if I use my freedom of speech without any limit and I start using abusive language, suppose, then in that case it is negative liberty, because I am speaking anything I want and I am troubling others with my words. So no one will accept my such words. It's a negative liberty. Is it clear? Next is positive liberty. So students, you see this picture here also, the students are in the same age group. Children are enjoying liberty, but they are civilized. They are looking, they are standing in queue, they are learning something. They are looking civilized. This is positive liberty. In its positive sense, liberty means liberty under the rational and necessary restraints imposed by law. Students, under the fundamental rights, citizens have freedom to move freely throughout India, although reasonable restrictions can be imposed on this right in the public interest. For example, to control epidemic, restrictions on the movement and travel can be imposed. For example, we have witnessed entire nation locked down for the months in COVID-19 epidemic. Even now also, Saturday, Sunday restrictions are there. It is for our health. So this is positive liberty. These restraints are considered essential for ensuring the enjoyment of liberty by all the people. In a civil society, only positive liberty can be available to the people. So, is it clear? In civil society, only positive liberty is possible. When we struggled for securing our freedom from foreign rule, we wanted self rule and right to live freely and manage our social, economic, political, and cultural life. To live cultural life freely. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, a national freedom fighter from Maharashtra, started celebration of Ganesh Chaturthi in 1893 in Pune, Maharashtra. This celebration united the Indians at the cultural level, and this is going on till today. Now, this is limited not only in Maharashtra, rather, it is celebrated in other parts of India also. Students, you know it very well that we Holy Heartians celebrate it at Amritsar level, and this is our culture. So, we struggled for this cultural liberty during the foreign rule. No doubt Mahatma Gandhi struggled for the political liberty, but Bal Gangadhar Tilak struggled Not only for political liberty, he struggled for cultural liberty and political liberty. During the freedom struggle, Lokmanya Tilak raised the slogan, Swaraj is my birthright. It is only under the system of self rule that people can enjoy their rights and freedom. After independence, we are still engaged in the process of securing freedom from poverty, hunger, disease, casteism, superstitions, etc. The people of third world countries are presently struggling to secure freedom from neo-colonialism, control of the rich and developed states of the world. Students, you know very well till now that countries of third world like India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. got freedom after Second World War. But getting freedom is not the end of our problem. We got the political freedom. Rather, we started facing various problems like poverty, hunger, illiteracy, casteism, underdevelopment, etc. And basic reason is that the countries of third world were once the countries of imperial nations like England, France, Portugal, etc. They were European nations and they were developed countries. But the next story starts after the Second World War. That is when the Cold War started between USA and USSR. That time, these powerful nations and old imperial nations of Europe started the policy of neo-colonialism, means capturing the weak nations of Asia and Africa not only economically. Now they changed their policy. They didn't come here with their forces and had battles like Battle of Plassey to capture India. Now they are capturing only the markets and brains. Our young generation feels really very proud to work in multinational companies. And that's a big problem for the economic development of India. And that's the same case with other developing countries of Asia and Africa. So, we are to control their capture on the Indian market. We are to control neocolonialism. That's finishing our liberty. Is it clear? Now I will discuss why liberty needs some constraints. Everyone loves and wants liberty. In society, no individual can hope to enjoy total absence of constraints. However, some reasonable constraints are natural for freedom. Some constraints are essential for preventing harm to others as well as for the preservation of public security, public order, and morality. Students, here I would like to tell you that restraints are essential for public health, public order, and morality. We know that when children grow up, they love liberty. Some like to go to parties when they are enjoying with the friends and they love smoking also. But outside cigarette pack, some warning is written. And that is a statutory warning. That is, smoking is hazardous to your health. This is written under Advertising Act of 1965. The intent of the government is to educate the consumers about its health risk. So it is not limiting your liberty, but this is the positive liberty. It's a warning for your health. As an individual, a person can think of freedom from all restraints, but as a member of society, he has to accept certain restraints and responsibilities. The restraints must be minimum and rational. Their purpose must be to enable a person to develop his personality, capabilities, and creativity in every area of his activity. So, it is agreed that liberty cannot be freedom from all constraints. Without restraints, the society would become an anarchist society which can lead to violence and ultimately war and destruction. Thus, each society needs constraints in the form of rules and regulations so that its people can enjoy their rights and freedoms and opportunities for developing their faculties and creativity. Thus, constraints are essential for preservation of the territorial, social, economic, political, and cultural security and integrity of the state. Students, if the government doesn't maintain security at the border, then how can the citizens be safe in the nation? So, maintaining security at the border is required for security of the nation. It doesn't mean that our freedom to cross the border is taken by the government. We can cross the border and move to the other nation anytime, provided we fulfill the conditions required for it. Same way, earning money has no end, but government has put some limit on it. After that limit, a person is to pay the tax. That money is used for the welfare and growth of the nation. And moreover, through tax department, government comes to know about the source of income of the person. Either it's legal or illegal. But such action of government doesn't mean our economic liberty finishes. Is it clear? Securing the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. Ensuring everyone the freedom of expression and choice. Respecting the freedom and expression of all. Students, no doubt, an Indian Constitution provides under Article 19 freedom of speech and expression, under which individual or group express their belief, thoughts, ideas, emotions about different issues free from government censorship. But this right is not limited to powerful people of society. It is equally available to all because it is provided by the Constitution. Section 292 to 294 of the Indian Penal Code provide instances of restrictions on the freedom of speech and expression in the interest of decency and morality. Thus, restriction on the freedom of speech and expression can be imposed if it exceeds reasonable limit. Students, this freedom is not limited up to speaking only. Our print media also comes under this freedom. All newspapers printing is done under freedom of speech and expression. But here again, I would like to tell you that nothing can be printed against anyone which is not based on the fact. Otherwise, it can be challenged in the court of law because in that case, the newspaper agency will cross its limit of freedom. Now onward, you must note it down. Sometimes in newspaper, a small public notice column comes where the editor feels sorry for some wrong printing. This is because he realizes his mistake later. Otherwise, there will be a legal action against the editor of the newspaper. Is it clear? So you must note it down. Next is protecting the life and liberty of all. Students, our constitution provides us various fundamental rights, and there is a provision of emergency also in the constitution. In case of national emergency, our fundamental rights can also be suspended, but only in case of national emergency. Is it clear? In case of state emergency or financial emergency, our fundamental rights cannot be suspended. And that which fundamental right cannot be suspended, that is under article 20 and 21, these cannot be suspended, and article 20 and 21 deal with right to life and personal liberty, so these cannot be suspended. Now, I will tell you the definition of liberty. According to GDH Cole, liberty is the freedom of an individual to express without external hindrances his personality. And according to political thinker Lasky, liberty is the existence of those conditions of social life without which no one can, in general, be at his best self. Liberty is the most essential condition for the enjoyment of rights. It admits the presence of such rational restraints to satisfy the test of historical experience and reason. Now I will tell the features or nature of liberty. Liberty does not mean the absence of all restraints. Is it clear? All restraints should not be there. It doesn't mean it's a liberty. Liberty admits the presence of rational restraints and the absence of irrational restraints. Liberty is not a license to do anything and everything. It means the freedom to do only those things which are considered worth doing or worth enjoying. Yes, freedom is to do only worth doing and worth enjoying things. Suppose you are having a stick in hand and move around on the road and say, I have liberty to do it anything, and but students, your liberty finishes when someone else comes near to you. You can't injure others with the excuse that I have liberty to move this stick. I have liberty. You can't use your liberty like this. Your liberty finishes when someone else comes on your way. Liberty is possible only in a civil society and not in a state of nature or state of jungle. State of anarchy can never be a state of liberty. In a society, law is an essential condition of liberty. Law maintains conditions which are essential for the enjoyment of liberty by all the people of the state. Liberty is the most fundamental of all the rights. It is the condition and the most essential right of the people. Liberty enjoys priority next only to the right to life. In the contemporary times, the positive view of liberty stands fully and universally recognized as the real, accepted, and really productive view of liberty. Broadly speaking, liberty is the ability to do as one pleases, but Liberty without constraints turns the society into jungle. So, as civilized member of society, we must respect liberty with restraints. Students, this finishes the discussion of my today's topic, that is meaning and features of liberty. You will read the pages from 145 to 150. Now I will tell the topic related short questions. The short questions are: define the term liberty. Name the fundamental right that gives the freedom to Indians. What are the types of liberty? What are the problems faced by India after freedom? Does law help or hinder liberty? What are the conditions essential for the enjoyment of liberty? And the long questions are: what is liberty? What is its relation with law? Freedom needs some constraints. Justify. Explain the features of liberty. Students, you will watch the video again and do the snap homework questions. Next time, I will continue the chapter. Till then, goodbye and thank you.